16 years. I want you to just really sit with that number for a second. In our everyday lives, sure, 16 years is a massive chunk of time. But in the insanely brief, totally volatile window of a pro athlete's career, 16 years is literally an eternity. It is a whole lifetime of hoping, striving, and failing.
Welcome to The Explainer. Now, we aren't just rattling off stats today. We're diving into a sprawling, totally epic, cinematic-level sports story. We're going to track Lionel Messi's incredibly long road to glory and the World Cup dream that took 16 grueling years to finally pull off. Because for a decade and a half, there was this central, burning question that just haunted his entire career. Honestly, no matter where he played, no matter how many defenders he left totally in the dust, this question kept echoing in the stadiums of Argentina and around the world. Could the absolute greatest player of his generation ever actually win the World Cup? Now, at the club level, his greatness was, well, it was undeniably off the charts. Just look at his resume. He was winning literally everything in sight. League titles? Check. Domestic cups? You bet. UEFA Champions Leagues? Got him. He was out there shattering records that experts swore would never, ever be broken. So for a lot of fans, the math seemed pretty simple. Obviously, a player this transcendent would eventually win the World Cup, right? Well, as you probably know, sports are rarely that simple. There was this one glaring, incredibly heavy void in his otherwise perfect trophy cabinet. The one missing piece, the FIFA World Cup. It was this elusive prize that continually, painfully, slipped right through his fingers. And you have to remember, right, from the second he stepped onto the pitch as a teenage prodigy, he wasn't just allowed to be Lionel Messi. No, he was instantly branded the successor to the legendary Diego Maradona. Some people even whispered he might surpass him. But man, with that kind of comparison comes a crushing psychological weight. Year after year, tournament after tournament, Messi was basically carrying the hopes and the suffocating expectations of an entire nation. Every failure wasn't just a tough loss, it was treated like a national tragedy, bringing on these massive waves of stinging criticism.
The heartbreak, it just built up slowly year after painful year. So the whole journey kicked off in Germany back in 2006. He's just an 18-year-old kid, right? This exciting young talent helplessly watching from the bench as Argentina gets knocked out by Germany in a quarterfinal penalty shootout. Fast forward to South Africa in 2010, now with Maradona himself coaching. The hype was off the charts, but it ended in a brutal 4-0 quarterfinal disaster, again, to Germany. Which brings us right to 2014 and the absolute ultimate stage, the final in Brazil. But actually, hold on. Before we jump into Brazil, I need to pause on this number, 0. That is exactly how many goals Messi scored in that 2010 tournament, 0. It was a completely shocking shutout, and it really cranked up the doubts. People were literally starting to ask out loud, can this guy actually lead Argentina to World Cup glory, or is he just destined to only shine for his club? So he shows up in Brazil in 2014 with a massive point to prove. And he plays brilliantly. He's scoring crucial goals, he's inspiring the team all the way to the final, and guess who's waiting for them? Yep, Germany, once again. The tension in this match is unbelievable. Both sides are creating chances, but it's just this scoreless, suffocating deadlock, deep into extra time. And then, the 113th minute. In the 113th minute, Mario Götze scores for Germany. 1-0. It was just a devastating, absolute gut punch of a goal. With the clock basically out of time, you could practically feel the air get completely sucked out of the stadium for Argentina. The final whistle blows. Germany are world champions. And for Messi, the dream just dies again. For so many people watching, this really felt like it. This felt like his absolute best chance to finally capture that one missing piece. And it ended in pure agony. And that night delivered the absolute cruelest irony. Messi was actually awarded the Golden Ball for being the tournament's best player. But think about what that actually meant in that moment. Winning that award meant he had to physically walk right past the World Cup trophy to get it. It resulted in one of the most haunting photos in sports history. The trophy is literally right there, close enough to touch, but totally, completely out of reach. That individual award, it brought absolutely zero comfort. The years right after 2014 were, honestly, they were dark. It was a straight descent to rock bottom. Argentina kept fighting their way to major finals, and they just kept losing them. Heartbreak in the 2015 Copa America final. Heartbreak again in the 2016 Copa America final.
And in that 2016 shootout against Chile, Messi missed his penalty. The footage of him right after that just utterly destroyed. It's hard to watch. The criticism back home about whether he truly cared about the national team reached an absolute boiling point. And then a shockwave hit the entire sports world. A totally broken Lionel Messi stunned everyone by just walking away. He announced his retirement from international football. Millions of fans panicked, terrified they have just witnessed the tragic, incredibly sad end of his national team career. But out of that darkness came a really powerful voice: the fans. Despite all the loud critics, so many supporters practically begged him to come back. As our source material puts it, the story they believed was not over. And thankfully for Argentina, they were dead right. He eventually returned. The dream, somehow, was still breathing. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. As the years rolled on, a new, fiery generation of players stepped up, and this incredible bond forged the team together. In 2021, the rebirth was officially complete. Argentina won the Copa America. Guys, this was Messi's very first major international trophy. The celebrations were absolute madness. Finally, that massive, suffocating cloud of criticism hanging over him just evaporated. But there was still one massive mountain left to climb, and the clock was ticking so loud you couldn't ignore it. 35. At 35 years old, Messi went into the 2022 Qatar World Cup knowing, without a single doubt, this was his absolute final shot. Time was well and truly up. Argentina came in as heavy favorites. But then, immediate jaw-dropping disaster. In their very first match, Saudi Arabia completely shocked the globe and beat them. Absolute panic set in. Everyone was thinking, no way, is the dream already dead before it even started? But here's the thing. Instead of totally collapsing, that loss became the ultimate wake-up call. The teams circled the wagons. They got stronger and tougher with every single match. They survived. Section 3, the greatest ending, Argentina versus France. Now, this match was an absolutely wild, heart-stopping roller coaster. Let's break it down. Step 1, Argentina starts out on fire. Messi scores, Argentina takes the lead. It feels like destiny, right? But wait, step 2, France comes roaring back. Kylian Mbappe scores, and then, boom, he scores again literally seconds later. The momentum swings violently from pure joy to absolute terror. Step 3, extra time chaos. Messi scores again. It's over, right? Nope. France gets a penalty and equalizes once more, which forces step 4, the ultimate nerve-shredding decider, the penalty shootout. I mean, the entire planet was literally holding its breath. The tension was just suffocating. Argentina steps up and converts. France steps up and misses. And then it all comes down to the final penalty. They win. Players instantly collapse onto the grass in this massive explosion of relief and pure emotion. The fans go absolutely ballistic. His teammates just swarm him. After 16 years of chasing this ghost of a dream that always felt one step out of reach, the journey finally ends. The burning question that followed him his entire life was definitively answered. Lionel Messi is a world champion. You know, the reason this victory transcended just football is because it tapped into these incredibly universal human experiences. Think about it. Failure, persistence, crippling doubt, defiant hope, and ultimately, redemption. Most careers, just like most of our lives, they don't follow a straight, easy path. Messi faced massive, public failures, dealt with incredibly harsh critics, and literally tried to quit. But he kept going. By winning in 2022, he didn't just add the final piece to football's greatest trophy case. This victory was the emotional climax of a grueling, character-testing journey. It cemented his transformation from a phenomenal football legend into an absolutely immortal sporting icon. Which leaves us right here. We've walked through the crushing heartbreaks, the nagging doubts, the retirements, and the absolutely unbelievable triumphs. So I want to leave you with a thought to really chew on today. Given the sheer crushing weight of those expectations, the agonizing length of the struggle, and the literal cinematic perfection of that final match, will sports history ever witness a greater story of ultimate redemption? Think about it. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.